Okay, hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about how to write a research essay. This is a basic, like a simplified kind of model in case, let's say, this is the very first time you've ever been given the task of writing a research essay. So what you really should probably do is first look up how to write like an analytical essay so that you understand how to organize ideas and arguments and kind of where to put them. So basically, I want you to think of like a research essay as though it's like an analytical essay, but you're providing facts from somebody else. It's not just your opinion. That would be kind of the simplified definition of a research essay. So I've got a bit of a PowerPoint I just want to walk you through, and then I'm actually going to show you how to go about organizing an actual research essay. So what do I have up here? Oh yes. So you actually have to think about what your question is for your research essay. Most times, once you get up into the upper grade levels, your teacher's not just going to say, like, write a research essay about dogs. Like, you're probably going to have to write a research essay about, like, how were dogs mistreated, or how were dogs used, or how are dogs purchased, or you know what I mean? Something where there's another little element to it. It's not just, like, dogs. So one of the other things is that there's different ways to reference in an essay. There's the best website that I've ever used is called Purdue OWL. The link is right here. And so what it does is it's going to show you different styles for how to reference. Typically, you don't have to use one over the other or over the others as long as you are consistent throughout your whole essay. I personally really like Chicago. I'll show you a little bit later why I like Chicago, but kind of the three main ones that I tend to find, you have like MLA, APA, and Chicago. And they basically serve the purpose of different studies. So for example, in history, you tend to use a lot of Chicago, whereas in like languages, if it's like Modern Language Association, MLA, you're probably gonna use MLA. And so anyways, as long as you pick one and stick with it throughout, you should generally be fine unless your professor or teacher says, no, I want you to use this one in particular. So look up first how to actually reference things so that way when you're writing your essay, it might become easier for you as you go. So first things first is, let's say you're going to start a new Word document. You're going to open it up and you're going to try and find as many facts as you can. So even if you've got like 10 books laid out or 10 websites that are credible, your page might kind of look a little bit like this. You're really just going to have a whole bunch of ideas kind of crammed all over, but you do, if you can, you're going to want to write down where you got that fact from so that way you're not later like, oh, now I actually have to find out where I got the fact from, and then you're basically doubling your work. That's way too much. But again, I'll show you how this works so that it makes a little bit more sense later on. But again, the facts don't have to be organized. You literally just put all the facts down on a page, and then we're going to organize them later. But you first need to figure out, do I actually have enough facts to go on, or do I need to change my question or change my resources? So this is really just seeing, it's like you know when you want to make cookies, you don't necessarily have to measure everything out first, but you have to make sure you have like your flour and your eggs and your whatever else goes into cookies, and then you can proceed and be like, okay, I can make cookies. If you're going through your cupboards and you're like, all I found is flour, well, you're not making cookies, or they're going to be really gross. So this is what this is. This is just simply having all of the ingredients laid out before you proceed. So, yes, when you, again, have your chaotic page of just facts and information, you do still want to have your little reference that goes with it so that if you moved your fact, if you move your fact, then the reference goes with it. Otherwise, then you're going to have like all these references and all these facts, and they're not gonna be connected, and that'd be silly. So, okay. Once you have your page full of facts, this is kind of the next sort of step, is you want to, and I don't know why 3, like who made 3 the magical number, but you want to put it into 3 categories if you can. So let's just say, I just took, this is this ridiculous picture, but it was like sedimentary rock and metamorphic rock. I'm gonna say the one. I actually can't even read that, it's too blurry, whatever that third kind of rock is. But you're taking your information and you're putting it into 3 categories. So one of the dilemmas you might find is that, let's say, as you're putting things into categories, you might have a lot of stuff in 2 categories, and the third category is kind of weak. So that's when then you have to review and say, well, are these the best 3 categories I can come up with? And then at that point, you'd have 2 choices. You'd either have to come up with a different category or keep doing research to find more information for that category. So step 1 is we start off just a page full of as many facts as we can find. This is our step 2. Is now you just try and categorize them into 3 chunks. And again, I'll show you in practice what this looks like later, okay? So, then once you have your information categorized into your 3 chunks, then you're gonna want to go back and look at your research question. Because now you have enough facts that it's like, okay, well, does my question now match all of the stuff that I found, or do I now want to reword my question based on the stuff that I found? So maybe, let's say, just going with dogs, maybe your very first topic was was are dogs good? Well, maybe all you found was like food habits of dogs and breeds of dogs and, I don't know, show dogs. Well, you're going to have a really hard time arguing, are dogs good, if that's the information that you found. So then maybe you might want to do is maybe turn your question into, what kind of jobs do dogs have? That might be a little bit better suited than just, are dogs good? So, okay, this is our kind of fork in the road. You have, let's say, your 3 categories. You've got your question, and even how to come up with a question is a bit of a tricky one, but whatever. Another time we'll talk about this. Now you have to decide, do I have enough information in each of my 3 categories to carry on? If I don't, this is like you really only have 2 choices. You either you reorganize your facts into then 3 different categories, or, well, actually I guess you have 3 choices. So that's your first choice, is just reorganize them if you don't have enough facts. You maybe change your question to match the facts that you have, or option number 3 is then just do more research to be able to get more facts. But if you do not have 3 really good chunks of facts, you're not ready. Like, there's no point in starting your essay because it's going to be terrible. So, again, I'm not really good in the kitchen. I don't know why I like the cookie recipe analogy thing. But again, let's say you have like a lot of flour and a lot of eggs and you have a pinch of like sugar. That's great. But it's not going to be a good cookie. Okay, so you either have to figure out, like, either you have to go and get more ingredients, like more sugar and stuff, or be like, okay, I guess I'm not making cookies. I'm going to go make a bun, So you either change the direction of where you're going, or you go and get the stuff that you need to go in the direction that you want to go. What is this? Okay, so this is truly where we cut and paste and we drag and drop our ideas into logical locations, or logical orders. So let's say within now, we've got our 3 body paragraphs, okay, 3 chunks of information. Now within each chunk, now you're organizing where the facts go, so that way it's a little bit more logical. It's not just, random fact, but all in the same category, and then another chunk of random fact, all in the same category. Now we have to kind of rework what's already in the category to make it a little bit more powerful. Okay, so now that we have our facts, what we need to do is we need to now connect them into sentences. So this is where we add in our transition words and our explanation sentences, and it's really funny because when you see this process, we tend to start backwards when we don't really know what we're doing. You just kind of start writing and you're like, dogs are great. And you're like, now I got to think of a fact that supports dogs are great. Whereas really it's like fact, organization, and then the sentence gets made. We don't start with making the sentence. That's way too much work. You'd have to be like really, really academic to actually do that successfully. When we're in a high school setting and we're learning how to be academic, we don't start with that. We don't have enough experience. We have to start with our facts and our tools before we can actually create. So then again, now we go back and we adjust. Where am I? Adjust your argument. Okay. So we have our research question. Again, let's just say like dogs have interesting jobs, or what jobs do dogs have? I don't know. Let's say that's your research question. Again, now that we've made more of an argument in our essays, let's go back and make sure that our research question still is matching what we have in our essay. So as you can see, it's not like you start off with one question and then just go. It's like question, do some facts, look at your question, get some more facts, look at our question, organize our facts, look at our question, organize the facts within their body paragraphs, look at the question, turn them now into sentences, look at the question. Now we're going to make sure we're making an argument, make sure our argument matches the question. It's like back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's not just like one and go. So, again, total irony. This is now where we go back and write our introduction. Hopefully you've noticed that we have not done any introduction up until this point. And here's the beauty of it, here's why. Is if we start with the introduction, then we're stuck, we're committed. We have to say what we're going to say we're going to do. If we write the essay first and just leave room and go back and do our introduction, then we can just be like, oh, this is what I'm going to talk about. Because you already talked about it, you know you're going to talk about it. So of course it's going to be in your introduction, of course it's going to work. But if you say, I'm going to do this and this and this, well, then you have to, like, you're committed. It's like being like, we're going to go to war. And they're like, well, there's no one to go to war with. And you're like, we still have to go to war because I said we would. This way, if, there's no one to go to war with, you don't have to go to war. You don't have to declare war. Just don't make a declaration until you've done all of your fact finding. And then if you say, I'm going to do this, well, guess what? You know you're going to do it because you just did it. So then after we write our introduction, then we write our conclusion. I know it seems super, super backwards because we want to just like take the pencil and just start writing. And what do we start with? The introduction, which really should be the last thing we start with. So, okay, we are done. So here's now our goal. We're going to try and write We're going to try and write an essay together, a little research essay, so you guys can see the process of fact finding. Okay, so the topic I have decided is Canada the best place to live? I like this question because I live in Canada and it's a great country and we have a lot of great things going on here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start our fact finding operation. So let's just say I'm actually researching and I've got a book in front of me. Wow, and I found this great little fact. And some guy actually says Canada is the best place to live. I really like that. I'm going to write that down. So let's just say Canada is the best place to live. And it's by some guy named, let's say, Pax. And let's just say the author, his last name is Pax. And let's say I found it on page 20 in a book. And I know a lot of you aren't going to actually use books for your research, but you should. They're great places to find information. I know a lot of you want to use like Wikipedia, but maybe that's where you write in your little reference after. You don't have to do the whole URL. This might take like half the page. But let's just say you were actually using a book and it said Canada is the best place to live. I would just again write down the guy's last name, the page number. This is not official. It's not finished. It's not clean cut looking. But I have my fact and I've got my reference so that later if I'm like, oh, who said this? I know where to go back and reference it, okay? So let's say I'm reading another book and I find another really interesting fact. And again, I'm just making up these facts right now. Fact finding, but let's just call it our research. So let's say some other guy says, there is a lot of fresh water, and it's by some guy whose last name is London, and he's, let's just say in his book, page 21, he said there's a lot of fresh water. And again, in my mind, I'm like, that makes for a really nice thing in a place to live, fresh water. And again, I can still relate it to my topic. Let's say I find another great fact. And another great fact is there is a low murder rate, okay? Maybe some guy named, last name Ben said it. Let's say it was on page 45. This is just another great fact. There was a low murder rate. Some guy named Ben on page 45. Hopefully you can see right now, it's actually kind of chaotic. That's kind of the point. We write down a lot of facts. We just put them all in one place. We're just finding facts. This is just the beginning. Like I haven't said, this essay is going to, no, I'm not even there yet. I'm not going to be there for like another hour. So we just simply have the people's last names and we have the page numbers that we got them from in the book. If it was a website, you do your own little thing. Like maybe it was like Wikipedia. I Googled, Canada. You could say, whatever. You come up with your own little guide so you know what's going on. So let's say I find another fact. I'm on another great book, and it says, people are free. And let's say it was some guy named, Susie on page 66. And that's just in the last name, Susie, page 66 in her book. She says, people are free. And I think, okay, another great little quote. Let's keep finding. So as you can see, this is like, let's say research. Let's pretend I had these books right here. And I was finding these facts right in these books right in front of me. This is what this looks like. It's kind of messy and it's kind of ugly, but it's the beginning. So it's okay. So let's say I find another one. And it's like, there is a lot of nice wildlife. Somebody named Ben. Oh, we already have Ben. Bob. On page 87. Again, it doesn't relate. Having nice wildlife, best place to live, lots of fresh water. Like they're not even from the same book. It's not even from the same author. Not even necessarily in the same topic. But I've got some really interesting facts. I'm like, that's a really good idea. I'm going to use this later in my essay. That's all this is, just a smorgasbord of facts. Let's do another one. Let's say I find Canada is really big, so there is lots of room to live. Let's say, some guy named Tall said it on page 89. Again, doesn't relate to my other facts, but it's still on the idea of, I could use these to argue why Canada would be a great place to live. As you can see, there's no essay yet, just a combination of facts. So, let's go. Canada has a great climate. So, let's say page 90 was some guy named Terry, okay? Again, another random fact, Canada has a great climate. Again, these facts don't relate to each other, but they definitely relate to, I could use these to argue why Canada is a great place to live. Let's find a few more facts and I'm going to show you the next step, okay? So let's say we have Canada has a great education system by some guy named Paul on page 33, and then Canada has a great health care system by some guy named Trudeau on page 45. So let's just say these are all of my little facts. Now I have to decide how could I possibly organize my essay. And maybe this is my research question, is Canada the best place to live? Maybe I want to make my question, Canada is the best place to live. I want to make it like an affirmative statement and not a question. We can decide that later, no rush. So now what I have to do is between all of these facts, I have to now organize them, and I have to figure out, okay, well, what can I do with these? So maybe if I tried to have the category of looking at wildlife, I mean, it's kind of tough because I only have one fact on wildlife. So maybe having wildlife may not be the best subcategory. Let me actually just show you how this would look. So let's say I really like animals, so I'm like, you know what, I want to talk about wildlife. Wildlife. So I've got my category. I'm now going to move my entire quote with its reference right up here under wildlife. And as you can see, I only have one fact for wildlife. Just making sure. Kind of hard to say. So either, at this point, I'm already thinking I'm probably going to either have to find more facts or I'm going to have to change my subcategory because there's not enough. Like, it would be like the world's smallest paragraph. It would be a terrible essay. The next thing I've got a lot of really great things that the government is doing. So I would probably have a paragraph on government. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at, and again, how did I even get to the government thing? Let me show you. Best place to live, yeah, who cares? It doesn't have to be the government. Lots of fresh water, may or may not relate to the government. Low murder rate, you never know. People are free, again, who knows? But when it comes to great education system, great healthcare system, well, those are definitely like regulated by the government. So I'm going to create a paragraph based on the government. So here we have, government. What am I doing? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my facts that relate to the government and I'm going to put them under government. As you guys can see, I'm just simply cutting and pasting and I'm not writing anything in. I'm just moving stuff around, trying to make sure that it's really where it should be. So I've got one fact for wildlife. I've got two facts for our government. Now let's just see what our other facts are, and let's just think what can we put them into. So let me read them out again. We've got Canada is the best place to live. There's a lot of fresh water. There's a low murder rate. People are free. Canada's really big, so there's lots of room to live. Canada has a great climate. So one of the things I could do is maybe if I tweaked wildlife and I change it to environment, then I can actually take some of these facts down here and move them around. So let me just try this right now. So this is me thinking wildlife is not going to work. If I said environment, then what I can do is I can say there's a lot of fresh water. Da-da-da-da. Done. So that's kind of nice. Has a really great climate. I can take this and I can put this into environment. So simply by changing one of my categories, I'm able to use more facts and it's a little bit more balanced. So now I've got 3 facts for environment, 2 facts for government. So maybe if I just said safety levels, well then that actually, if I said safety, I'd only have 1 fact. So maybe safety is actually not the best thing. But if I said, let's say comfort level, then I can actually put all of these into that one category. Maybe it's a bit of a cop-out, but I'm going to use comfort level for now. So let's even call it social comfort. I don't know, it's a made-up thing. Social comfort. So hopefully now you can see what's going on here. This is truly, so step number 1 was do our research, get some facts. I just made this stuff up. That's not really what you guys should be doing. That's not actually fact-finding. I just wanted to show you a compressed version because it would be really boring you watching me read a book and being like, ooh, a fact, great. So let's just pretend that these were all taken out of actual real sources, even though none of these were. So step 1 is we just get a whole bunch of facts and we put them in one place. Step number 2, we then try and organize them into categories, which we just did. And to me, I like this because I look at this and I think, yeah, it's kind of balanced. Obviously, government is a little weak. So at this point, let's just say I've got 2 choices. I either change the category around or I find another fact. And at this point, let's just say I really like these facts. So I'm going to just actually find another fact. I'm going to do some more research. Let's pretend I'm reading a book. I found another great fact. I'm going to add it in. So let's just say my government fact is we live in a democracy. Live in a democracy. Some guy named, I don't know, Abbott on page 21. So now I've got 3 facts for environment, 3 facts for government. I think I've got 4 ones off the screen for social comfort. So I've got enough now that I've got a really good shell of an essay. But as you can see, I have not started to write my essay. All I've done is just played with facts and moved facts around. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to organize facts within my paragraph so that way it actually makes sense. So yes, they relate, but now I have to think, okay, are they in the best order? Your teacher might have talked to you about having like the sandwich effect thing where you've got like maybe, let's say, not even the sandwich, I don't even know what who cares what it's called? Yogurt, whatever. You've got a really strong idea at the beginning, and a really strong idea at the end, and then maybe let's say your weaker idea, you kind of put in the middle, okay? So, but it still has to kind of flow logically. So let's just look at our environment one. Let's just say there's a lot of nice wildlife, and then there's a lot of fresh water, and Canada has a great climate. I mean, it actually kind of works well in this order, and here's why. Because here we're talking about animals. Animals need water, and water is part of having a great climate, like with precipitation and I don't know, whatever else it does. So in my mind, this actually is kind of a nice flow. Now, possibly, if I didn't want it this way, maybe I would actually start with saying it has a great climate, then saying, look at all the fresh water, and then look at all the wildlife. Let me actually just do that, just so you can see how this is done. So let's pretend I didn't like the order. And I thought, no, you know what? I want to start with saying Canada has a great climate. So I'm going to move Canada has a great climate up here. And then I'm going to say there's a lot of fresh water. And then I'm going to end with the idea of look at all the wildlife we get as a result of this fresh water. It's actually probably even a better order than the first one. So now I've played around with it. This is our step 4, 3, who cares what number it is. But this is our next step. So remember, we start with our fact finding. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is we try and organize it into chunks. Step number 3 is now we organize within the chunks. Okay? So now let's look at our government. Let's just say Canada has a great education system, Canada has a great healthcare system, and we live in a democracy. Again, hang on, someone's at the door. Okay, sorry about that. So let's say this is the order that we have. Canada has a great education system, a great healthcare system, and we live in a democracy. Maybe again, let's just say I don't like this order and I want to change it around. Let's just say we want to put democracy at the beginning. That's kind of a nice way of starting this. We live in a democracy, and then maybe the fact that maybe I want to say actually that we have a great healthcare system. Because let's say we are free to vote, we are free to get medically treated, and then we are free to be educated. Kind of a lot of freedom in terms of our government, so I like this order now. So let's now take a look at our social comfort, which is actually a bit of a weaker paragraph. So maybe what I might do is I might actually put my social comfort in the middle of my essay, because as you can see, it's a bit of a like a weak topic, like government, that's like a very specific thing. The environment is very specific, like social comfort. I don't know, maybe that just seems too out there, who knows. So let's say the fact I have is Canada is the best place to live. There's a low murder rate, people are free, Canada's really big, so there's lots of room to live. I like the idea of saying people are free. I think that's a great quote. So I want to start with that one because I think there's a lot of impact there. So I'm going to move this quote right to the beginning. Not straight to the beginning, it's the beginning of my third body paragraph. Then, if I'm going to say, having said that, the more I think about this, the more I look at this. This is kind of tricky because we want to start a paragraph with something powerful, and we want to end the paragraph with something powerful. So people are left with an impression. You know what I mean? So people are free. That's actually a really powerful statement to end with. I don't know why, I just really like it. So if you were to say Canada is the best place to live, maybe actually I want to start with that. And then maybe it's the best place to live because there's a low murder rate. Maybe you want to argue there's a low murder rate because people are so spread out you don't see them. Like, how do you kill them if you can't even, they're not even there. Population density is so sparse. So let's just say, let's going to start with Canada is the best place to live. That's a terrible joke, by the way. So Canada is the best place to live. And then, so let's move this guy up here. Maybe I'm going to end with people are free because, you know what, I think that's a really powerful sentence. So maybe I'm going to say, Canada is really big, so there's lots of room to live. And maybe, again, who knows, maybe it does have an effect on the murder rate, who knows. And then my final idea is people are free. So as you guys can see here, all I've done is I've taken my ideas and I've put them in an order that I think makes sense. You may disagree, but I think this is kind of a nice little logical order. Now I have to go back and think, are my paragraphs where I want them to be? And originally I was going to say that this was actually not the strongest one, but I really like this idea, people are free. But maybe, now that I think about it, maybe I want to move people are free into here because we live in a democracy. So let me do this. So let me take this idea of people are free. I'm going to take this fact here, and I'm going to put it up here in my government section because I feel like as Canadians we're pretty free. Maybe we're not. I feel like we are. But I really like this idea, and I think that my government section is probably going to be stronger than my social comfort section. So now I'm actually going to move my whole paragraph, my whole body paragraph under, to the very, very bottom, so that way now my social comfort is in the middle. I'm just going to not zoom out, but here we are. So you can see now that I've reordered where the body paragraphs go. So now I'm going to start with my environment, then I'm going to go into social comfort, and then finally I'm going to finish with government, because I think this is probably one of my stronger body paragraphs. Hopefully that makes sense. Now what we need to do is the next sort of step is we now need to take these facts and turn them into a paragraph. We actually have to kind of make sense of this. This is where we have to do a lot of explaining and arguing. So I'm going to work with the government because I like that one. So there's two things actually even now I have to consider before I even turn these into sentences. We have direct quotes and we have indirect referencing. So a direct quote can be really powerful because if someone's going to say it in a really good way, they've probably said it in the best way possible. That's kind of why we like to quote them. And if, let's say, we indirectly reference them, then what we're showing is that we're able to take someone's ideas and turn them and put them into our own words. If you had an essay that, let's just say extremes, if you had an essay that was only direct quotes, it would look like you weren't actually very good at writing an essay. Like all you could do was say, he said this, and she said this, and he said this. If you had an essay that was only indirect referencing, then it may not actually be so powerful, because sometimes it's nice to have that little testimony that, like, this guy said exactly this, and I'm quoting it down exactly as it was said in my paper. So on one hand, you might look like you're lacking essay skills. On the other hand, you might look like you're lacking like powerful resources, if that makes sense. Let me give you an example. This is what I love. So you know the famous example, Martin Luther King Jr., when he's like, I have a dream. Well, it would not be as powerful if I said, this guy, he had a nighttime vision, right? Like if I tried to put it into my own words, it would be like, what do you mean a nighttime vision? That's stupid. Hearing him say, like, I have a dream, like if you read that, you'd be like, oh, those are really powerful words. So there's times where you want to keep those quotes if they're really, really powerful. But then there's times where you have to think, okay, well, I can't have everything in direct quotes, because then that makes me look like a weak essay writer. So I'm going to now say, for this paragraph, I'm going to keep two. I want to keep two quotes that I think are really powerful, and the other two, I'm going to reword. I'm going to try and put into my own words. But I still have to reference them. I still have to say, this is where I got it from. So the references are still going to be in the essay, but two are going to be in direct quotations, and two are just going to be kind of implied into the essay. So I really like people are free. I know I'm going to keep this one because I think that's a great quote. We live in a democracy. Well, I could actually change that. I could say Canada operates in a democracy. I could reword that quite easily. Canada has a great healthcare system. The minute you have, I think it's like 3 words or more, you have to direct quote. And saying like healthcare system, I'm almost verging into territory where it's almost easier just keeping it in a direct quote. Canada has a great education system. Again, I feel like I might be able to reword that easier. So let's start at the beginning where we live in a democracy. I'm going to change that. Actually, no, first, even before I change that, I have to now introduce my paragraph. We're talking about government. When my essay's all said and done, I'm going to actually get rid of the topic government, because you don't always have to have little subtopics, like headings in your essay. So let's just say, okay, let me go back up here and show you. Our main topic, our main thesis idea here is Canada the best place to live? And so I'm going to say it is. So I'm going to come down here, and again, I want to remind people of the main theme that I'm arguing in my essay. So instead of saying, is Canada the best place to live? Yes, it is because of I'm just going to come out and make a statement. So I'm going to say, Canada is the best place to live as our government, because again, I have to talk about the word government so that my reader knows, like, oh, that's the topic of this paragraph. If I start with talking about democracy, they might then think that my whole paragraph is about democracy. So again, this has to be like the introduction to the paragraph. So even before I deal with these facts, I have to let them know what the topic is of my paragraph. So Canada is the best place to live as our government enables us to live in a way, that is positive and, great. That sounds stupid, but who cares? I'm going to go back and fix that later, okay? So, I know, what a horrible sentence. Canada is the best place to live as our government enables us to live in a way that is positive and great. I will work this later because this sounds really, really weak, but I've got the idea there. I'm just going to work on the wording later. So, we live in a democracy. I now have to, I'm getting rid of this quote. I'm keeping the reference, but I'm getting rid of the quote. So now I have to think, how am I going to put this into our own words? I'm going to say, Canada operates on the ideals or ideas or ideologies of a democracy. And that way I still have the ideas there, but because now it's in my words, I'm going to get rid of the quotations. So I'm going to say, Canada, instead of we live in a democracy, let's just say Canada is a democracy. So what I'm going to do, Canada is a democracy. Let me just say, I'm going to put this reference in brackets for now. and I can figure out later how I want to format it. But at least now I still have my reference. So what I'm doing is I'm telling my reader, this is not my fact. I'm not plagiarizing. I'm not stealing. This is where I got this idea from. Even though it's now in my words, it's not my idea. So the next thing is I'm going to say, what I really actually should do is anytime I introduce a fact, I really should actually explain the fact so that way it's really clear for my reader. So I'm just going to write in a little sentence to show my reader what even I mean by this. Okay. So again, Canada is an amazing place to live, and again, this is me just trying to reference my main theme. My thesis, again, is Canada a great place to live, or Canada is a great place to live, one of the two. And I still have to kind of clarify what a democracy is, but I still want to kind of reference my idea. So Canada's an amazing place to live, as we get to vote for the leader of our country. And then maybe even I want to justify or explain this. This lets Canadians have a say in who represents them. So this is me now explaining and clarifying my main idea. So now I'm going to try and carry on and include our next fact in here. So maybe the next fact is Canada has a great healthcare system. So what I'm trying to go with is I'm saying that it's positive, great. So really I should probably be changing these words maybe now. Here we have a say in our government. It's kind of hard now to actually relate why we're so great. If my adjectives are positive, great, and then basically the idea of like representation, right? Well, I can't really say that we're represented in our healthcare. That's kind of a hard one. So maybe what I might want to do is change the word great, so that way then I can connect this idea with my main introductory sentence. So if I'm saying Canada is the best place to live as our government enables us to live in a way that is positive and maybe instead of great, let's just say, let's even just do synonyms. This is actually a really great place to start. If I right click on great and I go on synonyms, what comes up? Inordinate, prodigious, oh my god, excessive, boundless, limited. That is not at all what I want. Okay. What do I want to say? That Canada is positive and liberating. No, that's not. And safe. I like that. Safe. Positive and safe. Let's just change that. So then the nice thing is that by making it safe, our government, saying that Canada is a great place because our government is safe, government makes Canada safe, I can actually now really relate in this idea. So, as a safe country, so I'm going to say, I'm actually keeping this quote, the one that, let's just say Trudeau said. So Canada has a great healthcare system. I'm actually just going to bring this right up here. I'm going to say Canada offers a safe way to live. And then I'm going to put this in brackets, and I'm showing my reader that this is my idea. Canada also offers a safe way to live, and this is the backup. Here's my proof to my idea. So now I've got, again, all of this relates to government, but I can't just go like fact, 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 because healthcare and education, although they relate, they're still kind of different, right? So how do I now transition between this idea, and again, keeping in mind that I'm taking away the quotations in this idea. So let's just say Canada has a great education system. Not only are we free and safe to vote, and let's get medical attention, but we are also free to learn in a safe environment. So now this is where I'm going to introduce my quote. I'm going to say, instead of Canada has a great education system, Canada offers an exceptional learning, no, I don't want to say that, an exceptional educational experience for its citizens. So I think this is close enough to the original quote, but I'm going to leave it when it said that Canada has a great educational system, and I'm going to say that we offer an exceptional educational experience. I think that's pretty close. So here's again my reference saying that this guy is giving this main idea. I had to take the direct quotes out, otherwise it's too much. There's too many direct quotes. And again, ultimately now I want to finish this really fantastic quote here. People are free. So I still now have to, what I might actually do even before then, is I'm actually just going to explain to people why this is so exceptional. This is going to be my own rationale, so I don't have to reference anybody. I'm just going to say Canadian citizens, let's say between the ages of 5 and 18, are offered free public education. So, just so then that way it's not just like a fact, move on, like you have to spend a little bit of time with it still. So finally now I'm going to get to my last idea, people are free. Well, I can't just simply be like, people are free. Otherwise then it makes it look like, I don't know. It's just weird. It doesn't fit, right? You get free education, people are free. We're handing out people, you're free. I don't know. They're going to get the wrong impression. We want to say like people are free to act, not like, you never, whatever. So we're going to say, in this way, let's say Canadians are free to learn, live, and grow. And then now I'm going to say people are free, so that way it's clear what I mean when I say people are free, so that way there's no confusion. Da-da-da. So now I'm going to put in my bracket, my period, and let's just say, I'm going to call this a day. So this is a very basic paragraph in which I've taken my facts and I've put them all in order, and now I've turned it into a paragraph. Would this right here get you an A? Maybe not, but this is probably not. But this is the beginning. This is how we start a research essay, and we only kind of grow from there. So after you do this process, you do the exact same thing for the other two buddy paragraphs, and then you write your introduction and conclusion, and you're done. Whether this is a 1-page research essay or a 40-page research essay, it's the exact same idea. You take all of your facts, you put them in one place, you play around with them until you've got like 3 equal groupings of ideas, then you group your ideas in order, and then you turn those facts into like an argument and a paragraph. And then sometimes you might have 3 paragraphs, you might have 20 paragraphs. So that's the process. I hope this helps. My bell's gonna go in a minute, so I gotta run. And I hope that helps. Thank you.